Hello, everyone. Hey, I am happy to be back. Scott Hawks is with us today. He's one of the newer members of our team. And today, Scott, top of mind for us going into 2025, like top of mind for 2024, 2023, 2022. As long as the internet's in existence, we're talking about cybersecurity.
Yes.
And so we're going to kind of talk. Well, why don't you let's just start with who you are, what you do, how long you've been doing it, like how smart are you?
Not very smart, but I did start my career, before Y2K in IT with...
Talk about fear-mongering.
Yeah, a large organization. I do remember the Y2K. We were all on alert and nothing happened. But we didn't have a lot of security vulnerabilities back then.
Okay, so that's year 2000, right? We're in 24, so 24 years ago.
Yeah. So I went from a large corporation, understanding their operations and their network. I'm going to date myself, worked on a mainframe. Did a lot of development work back then, and had the opportunity to start to grow managed services teams across about 3 or 4 organizations over the years. So building a NOC, what a network operations center was, providing support to business services that didn't have IT teams or had a semblance of IT teams, but we were either augmenting them or providing support of what the expertise that they didn't have. Fast forward, security is like you said, 23, 22, 21, 20. It goes back. Each year there's a different layer or different vulnerability. Hackers have become more aware and knowledgeable about how to infiltrate the companies. And so the last couple of managed services teams was centered around what type of security tools and what type of security processes that we needed to have to be able to remediate and, number one, detect and then remediate and communicate those type of vulnerabilities and threats to the companies.
Yeah, I think it's interesting in the fact that as technology progresses, the double-edged sword of that is the fact that the threat actors are using that technology and those advances, right? Think about, right, the increase in attacks are coming because we have bigger, faster, stronger computing power, right? Bigger, faster, stronger, networks, right? I mean, if you have a computer or a server that can compilate the attacks, and then you can put that through a big-ass pipe, and everyone wants more internet, you basically exasperated the threat attack community, right? Tenfold, hundredfold, right? And I think a couple of things for the video to take away is the fact that between 2020, pre-COVID, right, to where we are now, it is exponential. Yep. It is a constant barrage of attacks. And what's interesting is we're privy to that because we see in the protection. But if a lot of our clients saw, right, the hits bouncing off their firewall, they would be like, don't ever let that son of a bitch go down. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely.
But they're not, like Jason was here like late Tuesday night, and we were in a firewall, and it was just red everywhere. Like the firewall working so hard to keep the threat actors out, and you just can't like screen cap. You just can't share that with the information or with the. So it's bigger, faster, stronger technology used against you, against the technology you're trying to do to make a great service.
Well, and you said it pre-COVID. Now we're post-COVID, where more of the workforce is working not in the corporate environment.
Oh, listen, every corporate IT guy shit their pants when they sent the workforce home. Yep. Like, how the hell am I going to protect them?
Yep, absolutely. And so new protocols, new rules, new...
And then we get the C-suite guys, right? No offense to the C-suite guys, saying, listen, I don't care where they're working. They need to be working, right? Yes. We need to generate income, right? So a lot of willy-nilly stuff. Everyone got, bamboozled by how powerful a VPN was. VPN's actually, double-edged sword, once again. So we'll get into that. So primary takeaways for you is awareness. It's continued education. It's not going away.
Yep.
It's getting worse.
It's not a potential of if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen and how prepared are you.
Yeah, and I think that you need to be conscious of that, right? What most people, I mean, remediation for a threat that's known is much different than remediation from a threat that isn't known that actually took down your network, right? I mean, for me, if we have one computer that gets infected with ransomware for all intents and purposes, right? And it got through and it infected, it's a wipe and reinstall for every endpoint in there.
Yeah.
Like most business owners are like, well, why don't you just clean that one up? Well, if it's on that one and it didn't get detected, how the hell do you think we missed the detection on there?
Yep.
Now, we give the client the option. Our strong recommendation would be wipe and reinstall. The downtime for that is astronomical.
Yep. And part of cybersecurity services and communication is how long is it going to take to recover, and they have to know that.
Well, and then they have to put a number to it.
Yes.
And I think maybe the owners and the C-suites and the IT directors are pretty aware of it. I think it's getting the budget from the IT up to the people who control the dollars, saying, okay, if X happens, this is step 1, step 2, step 3. This is the time. This is the cost analysis to get that done. That's a real number.
Yep.
And it gets bigger based on obviously how big it
Yep.
is. So we're going to kind of get into that. So why don't we just, I know we got a kind of a formal thing to keep us on tap here. I've made some notes. You've made some notes. Let's just educate some of our clients because they can't hear it enough, right?
Yeah.
I mean, no offense, but not a lot of the stuff that we're not talking about is changed on how we defend on our side. It's more about what these crazies are doing on the attack side and they continue to be successful.
Yeah.
If they were unsuccessful, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation.
That's right.
We'd be talking about, the beaches in Maui or something.
Well, it's just a couple stats. On average, an organization gets targeted 700 times
A year?
a year. It's twice a day. 83% of those organizations, they were successful in being phished.
Okay.
Social engineering, everything.
Okay, so let's talk about the different types of phishing, social engineering. Just take us, briefly through, all that stuff.
Okay. Well, social engineering's basically they're just trying to get.
Is that what it is
information.
pretty much anymore?
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
it's social engineering.
Yeah,
Right?
and what they're just doing is getting basic information from you.
LinkedIn.
That's a big thing with identifying C-suite people that they can mask another email domain and send an email to you. And this is where the awareness initiative with your employees really starts to happen is, how do I know? Okay, look at that email address. It may be company LLC, what your company addresses are. That email coming may be company LLC. It's as simple as that.
Well, and I think the thing about it is, right, so if you go to LinkedIn, you look at an organization, depending on how well their LinkedIn profile is, you know who the CEO is, you know who the president is, you know who the CFO, CEO, like you know who all the main players are. And that's the thing.
Yep.
If you know who the players are,
Yep.
it becomes real easy now.
Yeah, and that's just from the executive perspective. But the social engineering, they'll send you you need to reset your password. Click this link.
Yeah.
And as soon as you do that,
the organization.
they're starting to get your credentials now, and that can go anywhere from a personal attack or a business attack.
Yeah, and I think it's also interesting to understand like your company, what's the word I'm looking for? Avatar lives on the dark web.
Yep.
Like all these different LinkedIn has been hacked.
Yes.
Okay, LinkedIn was exposed, right? Where do you think all that data went? To the dark web.
Yep.
And multiple threat actors will buy that data. They'll take that data set. They will then find the key points inside that data set, match it against another data set from a breach that they took from a healthcare provider. So now they're putting this data set with this data set, and then they find, insurance company got hacked.
Yes.
Right? So now
Yes.
you got home address, like the avatar for your business, the avatar for you personally is out there.
Yes.
And it's being built.
Well, and another type of
Which
social
is scary.
engineering is the man in the middle attacks.
Yep.
So once again, they can get the executive's email address and have CEO and be able to send an email from the CEO masked underneath the wrong email domain. But if he emails the accounting department and says, wire this transfer, and you're right, it's financial institution, it's supply institution that do a lot of wiring transfers.
Yeah, banks,
But
construction companies.
Yeah, and it's one person that didn't look at that specific address or didn't ask the question. And what I get a lot is, well, I work from home. Well, call the CEO and make sure that he wants that transferred or she wants that transferred.
Yeah, I think one of the things that
We really get lost in the communication. We're so email driven or text driven or social media driven. We forget that the best education is face to face or phone call or understanding that, do you really want me to do this? So it's a little bit of internal awareness as well.
Well, the man in the middle attacks now have figured out how to thwart SMS, right? So they can spoof the SMS. One of the kind of the other interesting things for me is let's just stay on track here. Okay, so we have social engineering. Form of social engineering is phishing attacks via email, right? So they're phishing for information. They want you to, under this masquerade, to give up something that they can use to exploit you, right? So that's phishing, right?
Yes.
So coming in from email.
Yes, as well as they can also give you a call. How many people?
Phone calls.
Yes.
Yep.
How many people out there have gotten a phone call and says, "We've seen something on your Microsoft account that is wrong, and we need to remote into your computer."
Yeah.
Or, and we get this a lot from the help desk, but a person masking as a CEO of a company that we support, calling the help desk address and wanting information on account or resetting. So also by phone call.
Well, they're sending out phone call. They're also sending out SMS messages. They're sending out emails, right? I mean, any form of communication, right? Company phone numbers, personal phone numbers, right? So if your personal information got hacked, I just want people to understand how this works.
Yep.
If your personal information from a healthcare provider got hacked, right, and they got your cell phone number, and then your name is tied to that, and then they scrub that against your name that's sitting at LinkedIn, now they know where you're working. Now they know your corporate email.
Yep.
Dude, they're just plugging this shit into a computer and they're just saying, go, and it's just going, right? I mean, it's constant. It's just this protocol on this machine.
Everything is so connected now. You can Google up anybody and get a lot of the information that you couldn't have before.
Okay, so phishing, former social engineering, they're pulling stuff off the website. They're pulling stuff off of LinkedIn. They're pulling stuff off of, whatever. Then they're, even paying for information off the dark web. And they're like, they're not like specifically targeting you or your company. They just have your information, and they're just, it's not fishing with the fishing pole. It's a net.
Yes.
They're throwing a net into the ocean, and they're just sweeping. They're looking for quote unquote vulnerabilities, which are uneducated people, unprotected systems, and once they find it, by God, they're like, they just attack the shit out of it until they get it done, right?
And,
Open firewall.
And access to anywhere. So be careful of free Wi-Fi, because that free Wi-Fi may have somebody that's getting the information once you sign on to that. Yeah.
So we do not recommend using free Wi-Fi for business productivity.
Yes.
Right. What do you recommend for if people want to access the internet? What's your thought on what they should use?
Well, you can have your own VPN type of service, but if you're just going around, use your hotspot.
Yeah.
On your phone, it's secure.
Yeah, and quite frankly, hotspots are typically faster than the bullshit Wi-Fi you're getting from the coffee shop or the airport. Oh my God, we were just coming back trying to watch the who was playing the Lions in Minnesota.
Uh-huh.
Like the airport free Wi-Fi was like terrible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So personal hotspot, absolutely positively. Connect up to your hotspot on your phone, do corporate work. VPNs are great, but then you have to connect up to kind of a faster service.
But make sure your company's if it's business related, absolutely.
Yeah. How do you keep how do employers keep employees from using public Wi-Fi?
That's education, but then it can also be detected when you are signing in from a business of where the connection's coming from or where you're going to.
Okay, so if you were concerned about that, we can put protections in place to make sure that they can't get that stuff done.
And report on it, right? I mean, it's one thing, one of the misconceptions is you're going to put on all these tools and then it's just going to safeguard you. No, report on those.
Think about going to like a big conference, right? Tech conference. You got 500 people in this conference room, all accessing the free conference Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm. That's a target-rich environment,
yes, man. And it is targeted
because they're all working, whatever. They probably ought to have a cyber protection, warning up there before the presentation. Okay. So Wi-Fi is free Wi-Fi. Hotels, airports, coffee shops, like all other stuff, right? Wi-Fi is everywhere, right? You gotta protect yourself. You gotta educate your workforce. One of the things that we do here is the fact that we have an internet usage policy, right? It's in the handbook, right? Everyone has to sign on that. We have a remote work policy. Everyone has to read through it and adhere to that. We also have we use Password Manager. We use Keeper.
Yep.
It's required. If I catch you using, your own passwords and whatever, no bueno. That you get written up for that, right? That passwords are crazy, and I think people have a real big misnomer about how powerful password managers are.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and another statistic is passwords can be compromised, right?
Well, what was
another tool is the multi-factor authentication.
Yep.
Because, and this came out with NIST, the National Institution for Standard Technology, is that using a two-way or multi-factor authentication, it's been 99% better against having that in front of your passwords.
Yeah, and I think that the interesting thing is, we fill out a lot of cybersecurity insurance policy, for our clients. They're always asking whether or not they have MFA enabled.
Well, and they're also asking if you have a security awareness program.
SAT.
And yes, and a lot of what we're talking about right here can be those modules, those monthly modules that help educate.
Okay, so there's so many things that we can talk about, right? So security awareness training, in my opinion, needs to be throughout every organization, right? Because what happens is the threat needs to be top of mind, right? And if it's not top of mind, then you create, right, a status quo, or I'm not grasping the word I want right here, complacency, right? So you need to be using a SAT, security awareness training. We have them, right? We got a great one. You just went through ours.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We send it out to the entire team. They have 30 days to complete it.
Yeah.
If they complete it, they get a certification. If they don't complete it, we get a notification saying, and I get to go say, hey, why didn't you do the training?
Yeah.
There is a lot of education in those, and they're constantly being updated.
Yes, with real life scenarios,
Real life scenarios.
That the people can relate to. By the way, I got 100% on that certification.
Yeah, I saw you print your certification out there too. Okay, so security awareness training, top of mind, right? And then you get to kind of go through and simulate, some other stuff. We've cut a lot of people in some of those simulations, and we're masking them to be real.
Yes.
We want people to be educated. So if you're not doing that, people get really lackadaisical, right? People want to get the work done.
Yeah.
They want to do a good job, but there's also the fact that, okay, I need to be aware, like you need to be doubling. The other thing that I wanted to say was back to your seat is communication. One of the things that I think that clients can use is either Slack or Teams, right? And that's immediate notification, right? If a CFO or a CEO or someone, let's talk about payroll, How many employees, right, are sending HR and say,
Mhm.
"Hey, listen, my direct deposit information
Exactly,
changed." Right?
exactly.
We've seen that nonsense. Then HR is a direct DM via Teams or via Slack. "Hey, listen, I just got this. Is this legit?" Right? That's so powerful
Mm-hmm.
and overlooked. Right? So,
Yeah, don't be afraid on all this stuff. Contact your IT or your managed services provider, saying,
Right.
"Hey, listen, this doesn't look right."
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. And part of the security awareness training, like you said, like let's do a phishing campaign. Let's
simulate the phishing
Yeah,
campaign,
yeah.
which is the second part of
let's reuse it.
set. Yeah. We're gonna go out there. We're gonna create a very specific campaign that your company would be privy to, coming from a vendor that they are used to, and we're going to put some stuff in there. and We're going to see who we
Yeah,
catch.
but a previous employer that I was, we had the awareness program, and we still did the phishing campaigns. Even though everybody took the awareness program, there was still 50% non-compliant. I opened up this email. Now, your awareness program can come up with a stop everything and take this module before you go any further. I mean, it can be as sophisticated as that, or just again, communication with your teams, going, "Hey, listen, this is still an issue. We need to be very considerate of these type of attacks."
Yeah, I think the other thing that I think owners, employers need to be aware of is the bring your own device, right, into a corporate network, and then or use a corporate device on your home network, right? Both of those scenarios are prevalent, right? Especially, obviously through the pandemic and when we were working remote. And both of those use a VPN. Both of those are terribly dangerous, right? So private device into a corporate network, okay, we're probably familiar with that, right? But a private device, my own personal laptop, I want to use my laptop, I got to get some work done. Can I get a VPN and can I get into the network, right? Well, the problem is that VPNs secure the traffic between the two sites. If you have anything nefarious on your personal laptop and you establish a VPN connection, you basically have just brought that nefarious malware, whatever it is, into the corporate network, and most people don't understand that, right? Like, listen, Johnny Sue over here using Dad's laptop to do some work, downloaded, a cape from Minecraft, and it had a bunch of nasty stuff on it, and they connected up on the VPN, and away we go. That happens a lot, right? So BYOD, we run into see a fair amount of employers letting people use their own personal laptops for work, or they have a personal laptop they use for personal and for corporate work. That's bad video.
Yeah, keep everything updated. And from a company perspective, obviously, browsers, the software, everything updated. But from a personal perspective, make sure that everything's updated on your personal phone, because they're providing
phones too.
security
iPads.
vulnerabilities, and that's why they're coming out with those updates. So keep your personal things updated.
All right, talk to me about changing passwords. How often should we be changing passwords?
Well, industry standard, like I said, NIST is sometimes, if it's too much, whether it's 30 days, it's counterproductive, because from a corporation perspective, some people have problems, redoing their password, or they'll need to call the help desk to have it reset because too many times. Industry standard says about 60 days.
Okay. And then how many characters in that password?
Well, characters is funny. It's not so much just a password, but it's a phrase. So I golf, I'm a Packer fan, I'm 25 and 2 kids. Okay, it's something that can be with characters, obviously, but around 24 characters.
Okay. How many 24 passwords can you as a human manage?
Well, if you have a password manager, you just manage one.
Yeah, exactly, right. But the thing about it is that's the issue that we run into, right? You have one great password you're using on 7 different systems. See, that is a company policy. You can't do that here, right? You have to use a password manager. They have to be, we push out what they need to be, et cetera, et cetera. But you don't want to be changing your password a lot. Now, the other thing is what I don't think most people, owners, understand is, or departments or team leads, is that password managers become really powerful because, like with Jennifer, on our side, or Sue, or helping me out on the admin side, I need them to get access into a website, but I don't want to share the password. With the password manager, I can share those credentials, of which they wouldn't need to know.
Yep.
The password managers, we use Keeper Security.
Yep.
LastPass is out there. They've been breached several times. What's that tell you?
Yeah, Password Keeper's probably top.
Yeah.
No.
And Keeper Security. But they just become, now they're a pain in the ass. Like the learning curve on those, let's just be clear, like it's a thing. But there's a way to migrate your passwords off of Chrome or Safari or whatever and get them into the password manager. And then we recommend, from a group policy standpoint, shutting off the ability for Chrome to save your passwords. You can't be doing that.
Yeah, it's always going to come up.
You're going to let Chrome or what the hell's the one in Apple? Keychain? Keychain manage your passwords, right? My kids hate me. Like the passwords that they have, right? My passwords are inside, their passwords are inside Keeper. They are different for all the stuff. I mean, we got Roblox, we got Minecraft, we got whatever. It's not that I don't want them to play with it, but if we're going to play, then we have these credentials. Now they know what a good password is, right? And my acronym is have to. HAVE2. A hobby, an activity, a vacation, an event, and then 2 characters, right? And it once you kind of get through that stuff, right, becomes a kinds of thing. And then you have a master password and whatnot too. So MFA, we run into a little bit of an issue with MFA where client employees don't want to have the MFA authenticator on their phone. That becomes a problem.
Yeah, and really, a lot of the people, it's education. It's not. It doesn't take that much time. It can be sent to you in a text. It can be sent, in an email. You can ask for a code. You get on there, and what's very important is, usually those things are 30 seconds of that code. The reason why 30 seconds is because a hacker, if he's in there right, then 30 seconds is a fast time for him. So it will refresh the code. And give you, or you can request another code. It takes maybe another 60 seconds.
Yeah, and I think it's just the employees just don't want anything on there, right? So Duo is a good MFA, Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator, maybe a single sign-on with Okta or something like that. There's a lot of ways to control all that stuff too. So, all right, MFA. The other one is geofencing. Right, applications sitting out in the cloud that are only allowed to be accessed by the company IP, right? And then you have to use VPN. So geofencing. I also think the specifically licensing coming out of Microsoft, right, where it allows us to provide conditional access, right? Like we don't want anyone outside the United States accessing us, right? You can even tie that down to even more grain there with the geofencing, right? So I think the doors, right? And I think cybersecurity is not one thing, it's 10 things. There are 10 doors. The more locks you put on those doors, the more secure you're going to be. And I also think that a lot of people are resistant to cybersecurity because it is a nuance. And you know who really don't appreciate the nuances? The CEOs.
Yeah.
Right? They want the exceptions. And you know who the most targeted people are?
The CEOs.
Yeah. So we handle all of our CEOs and our C-suite people with kick bloods. Yeah. We understand that they want exceptions, but they also have to understand that they're the target.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's why managed service providers are so taking a lot of support from corporations and that, because it is 10 things, Chris. Could be 12 things.
10 is a good start. Depending on how complicated your IT infrastructure is, we could ramp it to 20.
And you have to have the expertise to run the tools, understand the tools, and more importantly, the documented, proven processes that if something does happen, and we said when, right? When it happens, what's the correct response and remediation for those?
Yeah, I think
Patch management is very critical. Keep everything up to date.
what can you patch? What should we be patching?
Servers,
Okay.
firmware updates on anything.
Anything that has an IP address
Yes.
needs to be current.
Yes, and you know, a lot of the firewalls, they're looking for those vulnerabilities. They're always out there saying, okay, where was a security hole here, and they're putting those updates into those version control. I say dot releases, keeping it on the same track. SolarWinds got hacked, right? The people that didn't have SolarWinds updated were in a terrible spot. The ones that did keep SolarWinds updated, it was a hot patch,
Yeah,
which was within 24 hours.
Yeah, we just had a SonicWall had a big issue, right? There was an exploit that went out, and what we ran into is the fact that we knew what the patch is, and then we updated all of the SonicWalls in our infrastructure. But there were clients that didn't want to update the subscription and the thing, and that's just a thing. It's a cost of business.
Yes.
The firewall people want their money.
Yep.
But you also have to understand is the fact that they're actually building code. They're out there. Okay, these are the threat actors. Okay, will my firewall do what the firewall needs to be? There's a cost of money that's associated with that. It's constant upkeep. Mm-hmm. So the subscriptions aren't there to screw you. The subscriptions there are to
protect you,
right? And I think you just got to be into that. Patching is important, right? I think we're going to be putting mandatory patching across our clients. That'll start February 1st because all of the firewalls that we're managing, we're going to be pushing out all the patching. And if they decline that, then we'll remove, the monitoring and maintenance firewall fee, which is fine, but then they're not going to get that, right? And then that provides protection on our side.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said, the monitoring, because, anything that we have on the system from a network and security perspective, we have to have those thresholds in our monitoring system so we can be more proactive than reactive. I like to say that we want to call the customer saying, hey, listen, we're going to experience some downtime here, or this has just happened, instead of them having to call us. And that's really what the proactive monitoring and incident management that we do. Yeah.
And if you ever come into our office, and all of our clients come in as part of the kind of the tour, the sales process, they, all the 8 monitors and all the stuff that we have out there, they get to see all the tracking. Let's talk about backup.
Okay.
I mean, how important is having good backups? And what should you be backing up?
Well, when you get exposed, right, you need a recovery point. And backups from a clouder, especially offsite backups, are very. It gives a point in time of when that happened, and then you can go back, wipe, use, and then come back up in a acceptable amount of business time that you were down.
Yeah.
Because if you're down, it's costing you money. And to have a backup and disaster recovery plan, and here's what we're going to do, and then also let's put that through the grinder and do it a couple of times. Let's repeat and rinse, make sure, and this is where from a service provider and a corporation, a person that can go look, okay, yes, we've recovered these files. It can be from a file perspective, it can be from a whole server perspective.
Yeah, I think what we call private and public. I think the other thing that we need to educate people on is the fact that if you're using Microsoft 365 in the cloud, they're not backing up your email. Mm-mm. There's no retention, right? So we believe and we try to recommend that all of our clients have a network attached storage on premise. Mm-hmm. They're very inexpensive. You can get into this thing and get tons of storage for somewhere between $1,500 and $2,500. But the thing about it is that you need to be downloading, you need to be archiving all of your email, if that's important to you. Because if someone deletes an email and you didn't find out about it and you need to go back and get it, they've then been fired or they've left and whatever. you're not going to get that back from Microsoft. And I think most people, it's in the cloud,
Yeah.
so it's back. That's not the case. So Synology is our pony, right? We love Synology. There's a lot of ransomware and stuff that we do to protect them. Get a Synology, get the right storage, download your M365.
Retention and archive processes.
You got servers.
Policies.
If you got servers, you need the bare metal backups need to be there, and then however long you can be without current data, then you need. That's how you build your retention policy, right? So many people say, "Oh yeah, I got a backup. I got a backup. I got a backup." Well, is the backup current?
Yeah.
Is it? I mean, how many times have we seen this where the backup is corrupted?
Yep.
So the backup of the backup of the backup has corruption in it, right? We have processes and monitoring tools in place to make sure that those backups are not
Successful.
corrupted. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not a big cloud guy. I think people need to have their own backups on site, and it's tangible, right? The restore point from that for us is 3 times faster. If your data is up in the cloud somewhere, we have no idea how long. Because here's what happens: a client gets breached. They're going to ask me 2 questions, right? Is my data secure? Right? Do you know what the second question is?
Can I restore?
How fast is it going to take me to get back up? Those are the 2 questions. And if we have a plan and we've sat down with the client and they've articulated this, then it's very easy. If they haven't done that and we've got to go through the fire drill, it is disruptive and it's frustrating. It's really frustrating with them.
Yeah, and in the communication part is this incident happened. We're going to communicate a specific ETA, current status, and continue on.
Yeah, well, cybersecurity is the thing, right? It's not one thing; it's 10 things. I appreciate you coming in here. I think for all of our clients, we're more than happy to sit down and have those conversations with you. But we're already having them. There are probably 4 or 5 doors that we kind of require to be closed inside our stack. We obviously educate, but then it's really the clients, the business owner. They decide what they want to do. But I think it's becoming more and more of a thing. Compliance. We're not going to talk about compliance, but compliance is now driving a lot of this.
Yeah.
And they're being forced.
And we will do a risk assessment.
Yeah.
To understand some of the holes that you may not know or we may not know, and I say this all the time. We have the proven processes, we have the thresholds, and we have the experts that can fix.
Yep, exactly. All right, everyone. Scott, I thank you. That's great.
Thank you.
We're excited about having you on the team.
I am too.
And client. I mean, this is just continuing education about what security is. We've heard it. It's not fear mongering. It's real, and it's important. So with that, happy 2025, and we'll be doing this conversation again in
Good.
2026. All right. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Yep.